They've been around a long time. They're, what's the word? They're not journeymen. They're not journeymen because Donald Cerrone and Nate Diaz aren't journeymen. But, you know, they've been around. They stuck to one weight class initially. They didn't win the belt there. So then they went up, but then they'll come back down. They'll entertain fights at multiple classes. Are they truly seeking the belt? You know, because if you're trying to make a run at it and you're trying to be the champion, then you stick to one weight class. You know, you have to stick to one weight class. And going to what you said about Rumble, I mean, that's the perfect example of what I was talking about with Kelvin Gastelum at 170. You know, I mean, Rumble fought at 170 for such a long time. I mean, it's still crazy to even believe that. And then he fought Vitor at 185, didn't make weight, got tapped out against Vitor. And now you look at him, he's an absolute monster at 205, absolute monster. Other than Daniel Cormier, just destroyed everybody. So that's the perfect example. Sometimes if you can make the weight, doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing. So, yeah, it's an interesting one.
That's the dude. I mean, I don't know, but if there was one person in the world that I wouldn't want to fight, that's him. Anthony Johnson is the one dude that it's like fuck it. Like, why? Why would I ever?
He's a scary individual for sure, you know. And Daniel Cormier going into this fight, I mean, even though he won the first fight, and I think it was a rear naked choke in the third round, there's still got to be a little bit of doubt in your mind because that first punch that DC ate sent him flying across the octagon. So, I mean, both of these guys obviously can take a lot of positives away from that fight. DC obviously won the fight, won by submission. And Rumble knows he can hurt him. You know, so if I was Rumble, all I'm going to work on for that fight is getting back to my feet, conditioning first and foremost, because I think he did gas a little in that. And just if I get taken down, getting back to my feet, take down defense, of course, work on those things. And I could see him winning that fight. But of course, DC, he has the perfect opposite game plan, close the distance, get his hands on you and take you down. So I'm looking forward to that fight. That's actually one of the better title fights. I mean, they're all good title fights coming up, but that's the one that I'm really looking forward to with a good backstory. And as you say, Rumble just brings that excitement because one punch can end it all. He's like Mike Tyson back in the day.
Yeah. It's like in any given second of any given fight, it could be all over. Let me ask you, this is just almost like a fanboy question. What type of style would you rather fight, right? Anthony Rumble Johnson, who let's just assuming the worst case scenario, right? Which is
I hate fighting wrestlers.
Yeah, or being grinded out by DC.
Hate fighting wrestlers pisses me off because it's not just that. It's not just the fight. It's the training for fighting wrestlers. It's completely different because, of course, you got to focus on your offense. You know, you got to focus on your striking. You know, because everybody knows the way I fight. I go forward. I throw punches and kicks. That's what I like to do. Which, you know, I've got a brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I can beat black belts. And I never use my submissions. And my jiu-jitsu coach gets very annoyed. He's like, Mike, Jesus Christ, when are you going to use some jiu-jitsu sometime? And I do need to think about that. But anyway, my point is you have to work on your offense. But if you're fighting a wrestler, then you got to work on your takedown defense. You got to work on your getting back to your feet. You got to work on your jiu-jitsu, you know. So it just makes the camp much more strenuous. And it can be difficult, you know, getting hold of good, solid wrestlers that want to come in and spar 2-3 times a week, you know. So there's a whole, you know, there's an issue with that. You got to get on your phone. You're asking your manager. You're asking your coach. You're asking other fighters, hey, you know any good wrestlers at 185 that you got decent jiu-jitsu or a southpaw? You know, it becomes very specific. That's a pain in the ass. Whereas a kickboxer is a little bit easier to find. You know, I remember when I was fighting Anderson and then I fought Rockhold. And then Dan Henderson, I thought, oh, this is great. I don't need to do any wrestling because neither of these guys are going to try and take me down. So I just focused on my boxing and my kickboxing. So to answer your question, yeah, 100%. I'd always rather fight a striker. 100%.
That's crazy because just looking at Rumble Johnson and DC, I would pick DC 10 out of 10 times. But then he would just take my head and shove it into the ground.
Yeah, DC might smother you, but you might lose your head or a jaw against Rumble, that's for sure.
I'm looking at your record right now. You have 4 submissions, but then I'm looking at when they were. They were in England super early in your career.
No. But it has on my record that my first ever win, sorry, someone called me then, was a submission. It's Steve Matthews, Pain and Glory, 2004.
Yeah.
But that's incorrect. There was actually a 37-second knockout. I don't know why that's on there.
Ooh.
Yes, I've got, and then one against a guy called Alex Cook, and then one against Ross Poynton. I think they're the only submissions I ever had.
This guy, your first fight ever, Steve Matthews, he is not doing too good.
It's my first ever fight. What do you want? One of the best in the world?
You guys went in opposite directions. Holy shit, did you guys go in opposite directions? You're currently the UFC champion. He retired with an 0-5 record in April 30th, 2005 after getting submitted by Jimmy Gaines in 1 minute and 7 seconds. He never lasted more than 1 minute and 7 seconds in any given fight.
Hey, that sounds like the perfect first ever pro fight. My manager back in the day did a solid job. Paul
really
Davies.
He got you a fucking bum.
No. Hold on. At what point of his career did I fight him? How many fights had he had?
No, I believe you were his third fight, so he was more experienced than you.
Yeah, he'd had 2 fights. He'd lost them, but who knows? Maybe the guy was going to turn it around. And that, incidentally, that fight was at heavyweight.
Okay.
And I remember my manager back in the day, as I say, shout out to Paul Davis. He put this vision in my head. That's kind of why I'm here. Unfortunately, we went separate ways. He ended up suing me. That's a story for another podcast. But what was I saying? Oh, yeah, no. So when he first came to me about fighting in mixed martial arts, I knew nothing about it. I'd done martial arts since I was 8 years old, but I didn't know anything about UFC or Pride. But he just told me there was money to be made. And, I was working every shitty dead-end job under the sun. So, I was interested in making some money, of course. And I said, is that not dangerous? He said, Michael, I will never put you in a life-changing fight unless there's a life-changing check. I always remember that was a line he said. On my first ever professional fight, I got paid £0. But, of course, I'm like, okay, well, you just get the ball rolling. So it's okay, fair play. I said, but one condition. My girlfriend doesn't pay to get in. I'm not putting on a show and fighting here, and my girlfriend has to pay to get in. But she still had to buy a ticket, 25 quid. So I was fuming about that. I was very pissed off.
That's funny.
Oh.